They work with people who have fair, bad, or just terrible credit, repayment history, as well as people who have no money down. That's right, no money down. They're located at 6385 North Federal Boulevard with a great auto inventory. Give them a call at 303-298-1155. That's Magic Financing. Features Mago the Magician. They're open Monday through Friday until 8 and Saturdays till 7. Check them out. That's Magic Financing. Call them today at 303-298-1155. Tell them you heard about it here at KUHSdenver.com. Also visit us at www.magicfinancing.com.
Yes, magicfinancing.com. They are the sponsors of the show here on the council. Welcome, everybody. Here we are on March 6th, together again on KUHS, the stream. We're broadcasting live out here in Colorado and all the way to across the nation and around the world. We're bringing some of the best programs, music, DJs, all around to the world and all around to you. And so I just want to thank magicfinancing.com for their sponsorship of the show. If you need a car in Colorado and you need a used car, brand new car, these guys are the place to go. Just ask for Maurizio. They've been taking care of our family for decades, getting us the cars that we need when we need it. If you're having troubles with finance, they'll help you. They'll help you to get a car. So, all right. Today we're going to have a special show on to eat or not to eat. That is the question.
Definitely eat. I think eating's a good thing. Yeah.
I think eating's probably a pretty good thing.
Usually, yeah, for the most part.
You know, and it's so interesting. Sometimes it is, but there's like this trouble right now in today's world where we're not able to like differentiate between what's good food and what's bad food, and there's so many things that are coming in.
It's so annoying and frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really frustrating. And I haven't had a chance to introduce to you my guest yet.
But I talk too much, sorry.
Nikki Burnett is a functional nutritionist and works with ambitious professionals to help them to overcome their hidden barriers to both health and success. And what many people don't realize is that there's a challenge such as chronic stress, brain fog, low energy, and stubborn chronic issues frequently have their roots in unhealthy foods and unknown inflammatory conditions. And Nikki helps people to tailor their food to their unique biochemical makeup and lifestyle needs so that they can feel great, thrive, and do more of what they love. And functional nutrition,
we all want, right?
It's totally all what we want. I mean, you think that people would, we all want more love, we want more energy, want more vitality in life. Yeah. And a lot of times we get so bogged down by the foods that we eat because there's so much processed foods and there's so many things that
are claimed to be healthy. Yeah, and they're like, this processed food is healthy for you. Eat it.
Like great marketing that they do for it, right?
Yeah.
And so, we want to know today, we're talking about foods and the things that we eat. And Nikki, if you could just share a little bit about your background and, what led you to the work that you do today?
People ask me that a lot, and over the time, or over the years, I'm like, well, it's just God, because I don't know. Mm-hmm. I went to college, I was animal science major, have my master's degree in animal science, reproductive physiology, so always been this just big time animal person, animal advocate, which really does lead me into nutrition now, in the way animals are treated. Sorry, I'm trying to fix my Facebook Live. It's not working very well for me. Yeah, it's shrinking.
It's shrinking, it's going down, it's moving, it's falling.
All right, so I'm going to turn you off. Sorry about that. All right.
So we'll just do it this way.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, don't want to be distracted. So, so animals have a big part of our nutrition, right? And they should. Okay, and so we'll get more into that. But one day, there was, I don't know what the event was, all my life, I'm like anybody, I diet and I, do the yo-yo dieting and I tried all of the diets. It's ridiculous. And by the way, I hate the word diet. Diet's not, it's a 4-letter word. It's not fun.
It's a 4-letter word. That's not
it's not a good word.
Do not say that 4-letter word. I mean, we're talking about it today, but,
yeah.
Use it at your discretion.
Yeah, it's true. But we'll talk about why there are maybe diets, and why most of it really just is lifestyle. But so there was a time when I just started researching, and for whatever reason, for my own diet, and I just didn't stop, which is interesting. So, post grad school, or all of college was Taco Bell and Dr. Pepper. I say that pretty much to everybody all the time because it's true. It's what I lived on, and riding horses. It was amazing. It was so much fun.
Well, we did the same thing. We lived off Taco Bell and Arby's. We would have Arby's or
Arby's.
McDonald's. We used to get those when we were in high school. We used to get like the cheeseburgers. They would have like cheeseburgers for like $5. You can get like 5 for like $2 or whatever it was. And we thought, this is great. I love it. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. Yeah, that bothers me a lot now.
Yeah, until later, and the body's like, because it's like at a tipping point, right? And so you can go and go and go, and then it says, okay, dude, I'm done. And pardon me, I have a cold. But I just started studying. So really, I've been studying nutrition on my own for 25 years.
Wow.
But during that time, I was in the medical world. I sold surgical devices. I sold pharmaceuticals. I sold medical equipment. I was kind of all over the place. And so, which it was good, and it gave me a really good background of the medical industry. So it was, I don't know, 15 years or more, however, I don't even know, 20, that I worked in the medical world. So, one day I just thought, I'm over this. I've been studying nutrition and loving it, and people would come to me, and I would think, well, I think I know what I'm talking about because, I can Google and I can, research a little bit. I know how to do a little research, but I don't truly know what's right and what's not right. And so I just told my husband, I'm going back to school. And he said, are you sure? And I said, I have to. I didn't have a choice. I need to know what this is and what it's all about. And it's really led me down this really cool path of, moving into functional nutrition and being a part of this functional medicine world that is really starting to create pushback on the conventional, which is what we need. We have an amazing acute care system. We have a really rough, at best, chronic care system. And that's what functional medicine and functional nutrition is all about. It's about, let's look at the root cause, let's find out what's going on, why it's happening to the best of our ability, and go after that. Let's not cover up symptoms. Let's not just address symptoms. Let's not say, okay, I have joint pain, let's give you some Advil. Or even, I have joint pain, let's take some turmeric, right? Because turmeric is a natural anti-inflammatory, the curcumin component in it. We have to know why. And that's my job, is asking why. Always, no matter what the situation is. I want to dig and get as deep as I possibly can into finding the answer.
Well, I think that's so important, and especially when you're doing your own health and learning to try to figure out what makes me feel good, what makes me don't feel good. And I think that, and sometimes I think we don't recognize that our genetic predetermination, the things that we were born with, that our ancestors brought with them, and then in some of the places that that they came from, actually influence our diet. Actually, you can have certain things in your diet that if you're not putting it in your diet, you're not able to get the energy, the vitality that is part of your own body and your own system.
Right.
Now, but with all these different diets today, Nikki, it seems like there's a vegan diet, there's a paleo diet, there's a keto diet, it's like it's like we have a war against food. It seems to me, it's like, we're just crazy here. We're like everybody's trying to get this perfect system, but it seems like we're doing it the wrong way. Or are there really justifiable reasons for what, why these diets are coming up?
Yeah, I think there are justifiable reasons, but then we as humans take it and we make it our own, right? And so now to get to kind of what I believe to be diet versus lifestyle, I believe diets are therapeutic. I think the vegan diet can be a therapeutic diet for a period of time. I don't believe it's a long-term lifestyle. I think it can be damaging. I think that you don't get some of the micronutrients that you need.
With a vegan diet, you don't get enough protein. So you're not getting the omega-3s.
You're not getting omega-3s, B12.
B12 and all that stuff.
Yeah, you don't get good iron. You don't get good heme iron. You can get non-heme iron, but it's not as absorbable. So you can get iron from vegetables, but it's not as well absorbed as a heme iron that would come from, say, a steak, something like that, which is very important. especially for women who are in their menstruation age. There are a lot of women who are anemic because they're vegan.
Wow. Wow. I didn't know that. So you can actually become anemic with low iron. That's being anemic. And because you're vegan, you can really have a propensity for that. Wow.
Yeah. So they can create a lot of problems. You know, if you're low in B12, the only place you can get B12 is from meat or from your microbiome. So your microbiome will produce B12 if it's working properly and if it's healthy, right? And so if it's not, you're probably not getting good B12, and that can create all kinds of junk, mental and emotional disorders, health disorders. I mean, it's just, yeah, we have to have these micronutrients. They're there for a reason, and they're in food for a reason. And I'll tell you, when I went to nutrition school, I was vegan.
Oh, you were?
I was.
Wow.
I was vegetarian for 5 years, and then went back on eating meat again. I had some of my own health issues, and thought, okay, maybe it's because I'm not eating meat. And I wasn't a great vegetarian. This was early on before I really knew, you know, what I was doing. But I didn't eat meat, right?
Yeah.
And then I started eating meat. And then, I don't mean to get into this whole story, but I wanted to try out the vegan diet. It was more of an experiment.
Right.
My dad was having some issues, and he read this book, and it was this doctor who says that being vegan is the best way to go, and it's kind of based around the China study, if you know anything about the China study. And so what ended up happening was I was vegan for a year, went to school, saw the data, because I love data, and I'm like, wait, this data tells me that we should not be vegan.
Right.
So I started eating meat again, and what it really boils down to is biochemical individuality. Some people need more protein, some people need less protein, but we are meat eaters. Yeah. Even if it's a little bit, that's just how we're built. Yeah. And I ended up doing my thesis on fat and cardiovascular disease and the vegan diet, and it was all based around this book. So the great thing about this, going back to being vegan, and I wish I could do a whole show about this in and of itself, but what ended up coming of it is vegan, doing it properly is lots of vegetables, right? So it's anti-inflammatory. So if you need a really serious anti-inflammatory diet, you've got massive cardiovascular disease that maybe you're not able to, that's not controlled, that the doctor, which is kind of what these patients who are in this study, 11 of them,
all 11.
All 11, something like that, yeah. But they were at that end, you know, the doctor said, there's nothing more we can do. Go make your plans with your family and sit in your rocking chair. So he took on these patients, and he did lots of things. Some I agree with, some I didn't, but he put them on a vegan diet, and also severely low fat. Not a good thing. But point is, there is some therapeutic benefits to it if you need some really intense anti-inflammatory diet. I'm not saying that very well, but you know what I mean. Right. Yeah, so I do like it for a period of time. I really do.
Well, you know, and I think it's so interesting is that when you were talking about how we need to eat meat and the things that, and again, I allow people to have a choice. You got to have a choice about where you want and how you want to eat, but you got to know the pros and cons about things. You got to know what's the benefits and what's the deficiencies, and to be able to make sure that you're meeting that as a requirement for your own health.
You have to supplement it. That's your choice. You have to supplement. You have to know what to supplement and when to supplement. And really, if you're not looking as deep as your genetics and your health, the health of your microbiome and all of these other things, you don't really know if you're supplementing properly. It's really interesting. It's super fun and geeky.
Well, it's, you know, and so when people have when I hear about people being vegan and just vegetarians and all this, and I have this one experience that always brings me back to what's the truth? What's the truth about our history? And I was in the military, and we did what was called, I went to the academy, and we did the survival training, SERI. It's called SERI, Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. And during that time, we had to learn how to survive off of the land for 8 days. And we didn't have grocery store. We didn't have the conveniences of life. We had to learn how to live off the land and what we could eat and what we couldn't eat, what plants were good for us to eat and what could kill us, what berries we could eat and what could kill us, and all of a sudden, and how to be able to procure water. And what I ended up, and all of a sudden, day two, you're hungry, and you don't care. You look at a grasshopper and it looks disgusting beforehand, all of a sudden it looks good. Or an ant, and you learn how to get those kinds of proteins. And what I recognized is that at our core, we're predators. We are predators. And that's one of the hard things that people don't want to admit or don't want to acknowledge. Well, go ahead and watch one of those discovery shows where they're out naked in the woods and doing their survival, and you'll learn. Now, understanding that, we do need to have those kinds of those proteins and those meats. And so that helped me to understand that. And that it's not a sin to kill for food. No. It's not a sin to kill for food. It's not.
And so I have, with my background in animal science and my just massive love for animals.
And I love animals too. I want to make sure.
There's a respect there because, and this goes back. This goes into the conventional versus the pasture-raised animals. So these animals that are put here, I believe that we're put here to care for them. We give them what they need. We take care of them. We appreciate them. We love them. We don't put them in lots where there's no food and feed them food that they're not supposed to eat and shoot them up with,
hormones,
all of the things that
steroids and all that. It's a symbiotic relationship that we have with the animals, right?
That's what it's supposed to be. We care for them because in the end they're serving us, at least a portion of them, right? Cows, chickens, pigs, and so I do believe that we are. The data shows, it's not about me. The data shows that we're meat eaters. And so that's what I think we do. But I will forever, I say forever, I will just never eat the meat that is conventionally raised meat because it's sick and it's sad and it's terrible. The things that they do to chickens and the things that they do to these pigs, it's horrific.
It's cruel. It's cruelty.
It's not what we were put here to do.
That we take care of them, they take care of us. It is not to exploit and dominate and exact cruelty on them. I'm absolutely, it's horrible. However, we have to acknowledge the truth. And once we can acknowledge the truth, we can make good choices for everybody who's involved in that, in the entire ecosystem. Right? But I think we've gone off the rails a little bit when it comes to our food because of all this, Because we're both animal lovers.
Excuse me.
We're both animal lovers. I understand when you people say we go back out into nature. When you watch nature, you watch how it plays out. You see how life consumes life and gives back to life and all these things. When you're really there and you see those laws of the universe, well, those laws are a part of us as well. But now we've turned all of this stuff into clean eating. I mean, I think we can agree processed foods and industrial farmed animals and genetically modified organisms in our plant food is not good.
Huge problem.
It's not good for us. It's not good for our planet either.
No.
But this idea of living a healthier lifestyle, clean eating, it's morphed into this moral hierarchy about food. It's like we've turned eating into a religion. We've got vegan, I'm a vegan, you're a flexitarian, pescatarian, vegetarian, meat eater. I mean, it's like we've turned it into a religion. It's become a religion for some people. And religion is the politics of God. All right? And we're turning food into some kind of political thing, and it's now our food is what we eat and what we don't eat, and it's becoming a way of separating people into camps. And I like I said, I understand and respect and appreciate people's choices, but when you don't respect other people's rights and their choices as well, Nikki, aren't we running the risk of turning this whole food thing into another form of like persecution of us against them, kind of a thing?
Yeah, I think it's a big problem because really what it comes down to, I mean, food has become so difficult and it's just so basic. We just eat food, right? I mean, but we also listen to what the big marketing companies tell us, like, oh, what's food? It must be healthy for us because they tell us it is. Instead of saying, does it come from the ground? Has it been fed what it's supposed to feed? What it's supposed to eat? and is it going to nourish us?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really what it is. It's micronutrient density. It's nourishment for us, and we have to understand that it's basic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard. What does make it difficult now, though, is considering people's health status. It's just, for most of us, just really basic.
Mm-hmm.
We eat a lot of plants.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need. We need a lot of plants.
Mm-hmm.
We need a lot of diversity in our plants.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who are the workout people who say, I eat chicken and broccoli and rice every day because that's what's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Wow.
That is not
Wow.
healthy. We want diversity. We want lots and lots of diversity
Yeah.
in our vegetables. The more diverse our vegetables, the more diverse our microbiome. Our microbiome is our gut bacteria, or our microbiota, our whole body. But we have to feed those because it's our mental and emotional health, it's our physical health, it's our immune system.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying this earlier, but we're just bug carriers is all we are. And if the bugs are happy, we're happy. If the bugs are not happy, we're not happy.
I never thought about that.
It's
That's
true.
right?
It's true. We are more bug than not bug.
Right. Right, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for everybody, the general statement is lots of vegetables. And then that's where things change, because genetically, some of us need more protein, some of us need more fat, some of us need more carbohydrate.
Mm-hmm.
Vegetables are carbohydrates. I'm not talking about bread and cereal and pasta, right? So I'm talking about, so for me, I'm a low fat, lower protein, lower, not low, lower fat, lower protein, higher carbohydrates. So this is why I did really well being vegan and vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm still was missing some things, and so wouldn't want to do it for any longer than I did.
Yeah.
But because of my genotype, I know this is why I did really well. My husband, on the other hand, if I have him go vegan for a week, which we do when we detox,
Yeah.
he's flipping out.
Yeah.
But he is the exact opposite of me genetically, or in this one particular genotype.
Mm-hmm.
It's super interesting. So I always like guessing what my clients are.
Well, though, detoxing is really good, right?
Yeah.
To be able to
Mhm.
cleanse out and
Mhm.
to do those kinds of cleanse.
Mhm.
And I think intermittent fasting every once in a while is
Yep.
good for you as well, because it helps the cells to start to regenerate. But I
Yeah.
think when you go to any kind of fasting that goes beyond intermittent fasting, then it becomes an obsession. It becomes like an eating disorder. And it can lead to if you're doing that, right?
But there's some pretty interesting data on true fasting, whether it's a day or 2 days or 3 days.
Yeah.
And they've now got the fasting mimicking diets, which
Right.
are pretty cool, and that would be considered a diet in my mind, right? Excuse me. And I think that those are, I mean, they're showing the benefits to our mitochondria and to our cells and the anti-aging benefits. And so there's this fine line between calorie restriction and intermittent fasting, and then just like prolonged dieting with 500 calories for 3 months or whatever the people used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
There is a fine line, but there is benefit if you're doing it the right way. Calorie restriction can be a great thing, but we can't obsess about it. We have to do it carefully.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to do it, find the guidance on how to do it.
Yeah.
And then and just kind of do it periodically. But we don't want to be fanatic about stuff like that. But I think the data is pretty amazing.
No, it is. It's really amazing. But I think it can lead. Sometimes I think we can go. As human beings, we tend to be obsessive, or we can be, especially if we have I wouldn't say competitive nature or a goal oriented. We've got to meet that goal, and so we push ourselves to the limit.
Right.
And we see how much farther we can go, and sometimes that can be good, but not so good when we're.
It's true.
Or with our health and our diet.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
it's true. We need to have nutrients. We need to eat.
yeah.
It's pretty important for function.
Kind of important, just a little bit. But I'm worried about some of the times of those things with intermittent fasting and all is that people who have eating disorders could be drawn to some things like that, and like anorexia or bulimia or something like that. So, we want to be able to make sure that we're doing what's right for our bodies, right? And not get sucked into something that could be harmful to us.
And that's such a deep underlying mental and emotional situation. So often those things come from trauma. And it's a control. And so I know in practice I do a really, really comprehensive intake, and so I'm looking at history, mental and emotional history, any kind of trauma, you know, that they might have experienced in their life. And so, yeah, those are always things that when I'm working with someone that I have to take into consideration. And if there is someone that I'm working with who has any kind of issue, you know, any kind of eating disorder, there's always a therapist on board.
That's important because you know, you got to be able to work through those issues, and as you work through those issues, you begin to eat healthier and you feel better and all those things. So, well, I want to get into some of these diets that we talked. This that 4-letter word we don't want to talk about, and you know, you can only use it on this. Very discretionary when you say it. But I would like for people to know some of the differences, the pros and cons of these diets, so that they have it and they can make the choices for themselves, and they can meet someone like you and helping them to understand a little bit more about what they are, so that you don't get confused by some of the propaganda that's out there and all the things that people, I mean, there's a lot. And so could you just help us out a little bit? Let's start with the vegan diet, since we've kind of been talking about that.
Yeah, vegan diet, I don't know if there's a lot more than what we've already talked about. I think that it can be a good thing. Now, I guess where there can be a problem is when you start to say, you know, you've heard of the fat vegetarian, or the what do people say, the unhealthy vegetarian. Anyway, you know, it's supposed to be.
Well, you can be, isn't it like you can? The vegan diet includes French fries and beer, right?
Exactly. That's exactly my point. It wasn't coming out very well, but yeah.
I could eat a lot of French fries, drink a lot of beer. I'm having a vegan diet.
That'd be a great day. That might be my Friday. I don't know.
That might be my Friday today. I'm gonna go have a vegan diet today. I'm gonna go out with my brothers. Guys, you ready? We're gonna go out.
Good times.
Good times.
So yeah, you know, there's that where people they fear that there's not that much to eat, but they don't want to eat the fish, or they don't want to eat the meat, you know, and a lot of it does stem from not so much health issues, but I love animals and I don't want to eat animals. I don't think we should eat animals, and beef is inflammatory, which can be, right? So if it's an unhealthy animal, it will create inflammation with us, in us. If we eat too much of it, even if it's pasture raised, it can be inflammatory. So it's understanding that nothing is black and white.
And I think that's a problem. We try to make things black and white.
Yeah.
Either or. This is it.
It's just not.
It's just not.
I don't know anything really that is, except, well, maybe good and bad, you know, good and evil.
Good and evil.
It's pretty black and white.
Yeah. It's true.
So, I think, what do I want to say? Genetics is such a huge piece of what we should eat, and one of my favorite parts of practice is looking at genetics. And I'm not an expert, but I do use it as a tool a lot of the time, because someone can ask me, so even as recently as, you know, last week, someone said I'm going into the professional wrestling, but not the what's it called?
WWF. Well, it used to be WWF. I don't even WWE.
Isn't that the fake stuff?
Yeah,
not the fake stuff. The real like hardcore wrestling, fighting,
Olympic
boxing
wrestling
kind of stuff that I don't like to watch.
Yeah, I know what that's.
Yeah, you know what we're talking about. It's not coming to me. But anyway, so that's what he's training for.
Right.
I was like, great for you. I just don't want to watch, but I'll help you. You know.
Right.
But one of the things to do is look at his genetics and look at it. So there's a genotype called apolipoprotein E, or ApoE for short, and it can give. Gosh, I'm sorry. It can give us so much information. It can give us information about your potential toward Alzheimer's. It can give you information about if you're higher fat, moderate fat, lower fat, protein, carbohydrate. You know, that's what I know about me. And there are others, but this is a really big one, and I love to look at it. And like I was saying, I love to talk to people and hear how they eat and what they feel they need and guess. You know, it's like I want to do a study on how well I can guess their genotype.
Can you get a lot from just by what people say to you? I mean, when you're listening to what they like and what they don't like, can you clue in on those?
A little bit, but it's more the macronutrients. So it's not. You know, I like to eat broccoli. It's you know, some people they'll be really intense. I don't need meat.
Yeah.
And I feel like, okay, that's my genotype.
Right.
It's ApoE4. It's a 3-4 or 4-4.
Wow, this is amazing.
It's cool stuff.
Really
It's really cool stuff. Yeah. Then you might be, I think my husband's a 2-2, which is totally the opposite end. He might be a 2-3, I don't remember. But that's a high fat, higher protein. They still need vegetables. That should still be the bulk. But they have to have good, healthy fats. Those are the people who do really well on the bulletproof coffee. That kind of thing, you know. And they feel like my brain is working now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to have that kind of stimulant, and my brain feels like it's on point. If I don't have coffee, for instance, I feel like I'm completely, like I can't function. I can't seem to get into the rhythm of my day.
So this is more about the coffee. It's the fat that's added to it. Yeah. And they do, and so it's interesting because he and his best friend, they're almost the same genotype, and they both like, I just feel so good when I put fat in my coffee. I'm like, perfect.
Wow.
Whereas a genotype like mine, if we want to maybe move into keto.
Yeah, let's do the keto.
Keto is high fat. It can be 60 to 90% fat, which for some people are going to do really well on that.
Yeah.
Me, if I do a keto diet, I don't process fat like other genotypes do. And so that can create a problem. So I would not do a keto diet for myself or for anybody else who has my genotype of either a 3-4 or a 4-4, because it could be more detrimental. I will tell people that dietary cholesterol has very little influence on serum cholesterol. That could be different for somebody like me. And so I'm aware, I eat fat. We have to have fat. We have to have fat for hormone production, for cellular integrity, for brain function, you know, so many things. We have to have fat. But
there was, for many years, they had like almost a war against fat. Fat
oh my
wasn't
gosh.
good.
Talk about politicizing
sugar
food.
the sugar was okay and the fat was not okay.
Yeah.
And it was actually the reverse.
Man,
right?
Talk about messing up a society for many years. And we're just trying to come back from that. It's so sad, and it was truly political. And again, part of what I did my thesis on, I'm so sorry, I think it was in the 50s, and I can't remember the exact story, and it's kind of long, but president got hold of some information that fat causes cardiovascular disease. He says, we're going to cut fat out of our diets. And so he, of course, it was then sort of, it wasn't mandated, but the whole society went into this whole low-fat mode. So sugar was okay. And even this it just makes me so mad. My dad decided to go vegan according to this book, and I told him, there's a lot of sugar there. He's like, sugar's fine for me, I just can't do fat. And I just wanted to just scream. I was like, this is not okay. And this is a doctor telling people that this is okay.
It just drives me crazy. And they put the doctor in front of that, and then all of a sudden that gives them the authority to be able to tell people how to do things without them really researching, like what you do, about their own particular genome, their own particular body, what is right for them. And so they just make a blanket statement that this is the way to do it, and then people buy into it because they've got the doctor in front of them.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. And I will tell you that this guy, his book had some good points. Again, going back to vegan being anti-inflammatory. But he believes that it's a lifestyle, that you should have a vegan, low-fat diet, sugar doesn't matter, for everybody. That's it's a blanket statement as far as he's concerned.
Veganism is a privilege, it's not a cure.
Yeah.
Okay, it's because we
That's a great way of putting it.
Veganism is a privilege, it's not a cure. It's a thing that we are very fortunate to be able to have the option and the choice to do in this country and other westernized countries, because we have access to the industrialization of food that allows people to fly things in here and give us those vegetables and fruits and all those things all around us. But it doesn't take into account the poor people, the majority of people that live on this planet that are dependent upon animals and dairy and food from the ocean. 3 billion people on this planet take their food, their protein, they get it from the ocean. A billion people make a living off of the ocean. 500 million people make their life, they support their families from the ocean. people don't understand that when they say those blanket statements like that, who it impacts. It's not you, it's the poor person, it's the poor mother, it's the poor father, it's those people that it hurts.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. So, yeah, I totally agree.
So anyway, back to the
keto.
and then let's hit paleo diet too, because that seems to be the reaction or response to the vegan diet that came out, and we're going to just be cavemen now. And
Kind of, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, and it's interesting. But yeah, so I believe keto to be also a great therapeutic diet. It's shown amazing benefits for beans.
Beans are good too, right?
Beans, for some people, yeah. They're showing actually that it can build the anaerobic gut microbiome, which is a difficult one to build. So, yeah. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. Epilepsy. Yeah. So, keto diet good for epilepsy is what the data show. Really good for epilepsy. Also, some cancers. There has been a blanket statement put out that keto is good for all cancer. It's good for some cancers. Cancer can feed off of multiple things. We know sugar. Although, when my father-in-law was going through chemo, it was the nutritionist, or not the nutritionist, the dietitian, I believe, that told him, and it might have been the doctor, I don't know, but the sugar doesn't matter in cancer.
Wow.
Interesting, to say the least.
Well, sugar doesn't matter
so that's
how is that? I don't understand how that. I'm like, that's like confusing to me.
So it's inflammatory at the very least, right? But there are cancers that do feed and proliferate from sugar, but also from hormones, also from things like glutathione, which is an antioxidant. And glutathione is an amazing antioxidant, but if you have cancer, you have to know what kind of cancer it is, because if you give glutathione, which in my mind, I don't think it's appropriate to give glutathione during cancer anyway. As amazing as I love glutathione, it's awesome, but you have to know, because that cancer can feed off of glutathione or NAC, which is N-acetylcysteine, which is sort of the precursor to glutathione. There are other amino acids, I think maybe cysteine, that some cancers can feed off of. So you really have to have an understanding, and I'm certainly not an expert when it comes to cancer, but having an understanding of the type of cancer that you have in order to know, hopefully understand the best way to eat so you are fighting the cancer while you're doing whatever else that it is that you need to do for yourself for cancer. I would never tell anybody what they need to do one way or the other, whether it's chemo or not chemo, or radiation or not radiation, or whatever, right? So it's such a difficult, crazy, mutating, ugly disease.
Yeah, oh my gosh, there's some really ugly, nasty diseases out there. And if you give somebody the wrong diet or the wrong information, I mean, and it was when I was doing research for the show today, one of the things that I looked at, is one diet good for everyone? Is it,
No.
one thing good for all humans? What do we all need to eat? And I was looking at, people who were lactose intolerant and gluten intolerant, and who had allergic reactions to meats and the things that, could cause them inflammation or whatever, cancers and that. But one of the things that I found that was so surprising is that you can actually have an allergy, an allergic reaction to fruit and vegetables.
Yeah.
And it could be deadly, absolutely deadly, and it's called oral allergy syndrome or pollen food syndrome, and you cannot eat raw fruit or vegetables. You can't. In some cases, you can die from it.
So...
is that, do we have to take that into account whenever we're...
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what we have to do is ask why.
Yeah, why?
Right? Why is this happening?
Yeah.
So you got to dig, because this isn't normal. So what we have done as a society is we don't listen to our bodies, and we don't take these allergies and sensitivities and aches and pains and whatever it is, diseases, whatever it is that we're suffering from, we're not taking it as the body going, hey, trying to tell you something here, and so we don't listen, and so then we just go and we cover it up with a drug or an anti-inflammatory and Advil or something like that. But if somebody, I've not dealt with that, but I've dealt with some pretty extreme sensitivities.
Yeah.
But you ask why. So I did a food sensitivity test on a client of mine who came to me. I just can't even tell you what a mess she was.
Yeah.
And she's actually now a good friend of mine. But she was in the emergency department multiple times, and she had heart palpitations, and her blood pressure was sky high. And first time she came to me, she was in tears, just a mess. Anyway, and so we did a food sensitivity test, and she just lit up red. Everything was red. She's like, "What am I going to eat?" It's not what that's about. It's about understanding that the immune system is upregulated to such a degree that it's reactive to everything. So that's kind of what I see when we're looking at this pollen food syndrome. It's having an allergy, and the body. There's a term called molecular mimicry.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard that term?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the body seeing one thing as the same as another, and it attacks it. So we can have we can eat a certain food like a dairy. There's a protein called butyrofalin in dairy,
Mm-hmm.
and if we have a sensitivity to butyrofalin, our body attacks our brain.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Wow.
I've only seen it once, but I'm like, whoa, that's amazing. This is why we test
Wow.
and learn, because there's so
Wow.
much that we can learn from these cool functional labs that just aren't really out in allopathic medicine. It's just so cool.
And who
Anyway.
would know that? I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Because, people have had, when you have lactose intolerant, or you have certain things that you're allergic to, if you don't know that,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden you're just hypersensitive to everything, you feel afraid for the foods that you eat. And so
Yeah.
this actually increases your fear.
Yes, and your stress.
And your stress and your
Mhm.
anxiety about the
Which
foods
creates
you eat.
more inflammation and more disease, and
Wow.
it's this nasty circle. I wish I'd brought it. I have this really cool sort of graphic that shows everything leading to everything: stress and disease and autoimmunity and lack of sleep. And anyway, it's really cool graphic. But if somebody were to come to me in a situation like that, I wouldn't worry. Well, okay, I would worry about the food. I'm like, okay, we need to cook your fruits and vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're going to eat them, because that helps with, taking away that protein that they're having that reaction to. But I would work on the gut and work on the immune system.
Mhm.
I always would work on the gut in a situation like that. And
Something's been compromised. Right?
something's happening.
Yeah.
Probably, I think there's a really high chance there's an infection.
Uh-huh.
So many things like that come from infection, and the body's trying to fight the infection,
Mhm.
whether it's parasite. I've had 2 amoebas in my time of practice.
Wow.
And you have this really significant dysbiosis, which is a imbalance of the healthy microbes to the unhealthy microbes, and the body is fighting these bugs, and some of them can trigger autoimmune disease. And so the immune system upregulates, and then it just starts getting pissed off at everything, right? Even the food.
Right. Right.
So, if I like I said, I've not worked with anybody with this type of syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
but the cross-reactivity or the molecular mimicry between the pollen or whatever is in the air and the food, that's what it is. It's a molecular mimicry. And I would certainly, research and look deeper into it. But that would, at this point, when I'm talking about it, in my training tells me, you look at the gut, you deal with the immune system, and this stuff probably will start to, the symptoms will go
It'll
down.
start to reduce and start to get out.
Mhm.
How much, Nikki, this is fascinating. Gosh, wow, you're amazing.
It's
This
cool,
is so cool. How much of our genetic inheritance? Like, I come from an Italian background.
Mhm.
Okay, we got a lot of Italians on one side of my family, and just recently we've discovered that there's a huge Scottish, Irish, other part of us, and Flemish side from my dad's side of the family, and so of course there's this confluence of all these different genetic factors and influences and all that coming together. How much does that, from where our ancestors came from? Here I've got my ancestors that are coming from Scotland and Norway and all that part, and then Italians down in the Mediterranean. How much does that influence how the foods that we eat and how the foods affect us?
So, I mean, it definitely is.
Does it have an impact?
Yeah, it's definitely, there's definitely an influence. You know, when we were back in the Paleolithic days and we all had our places, the things that were around us are the things that we ate, and genetically that's what we needed because some got their fat here and there. And then you have your Eskimos, right, who are probably your ApoE 22, 23, who are, you know, just all fat, right? They eat blubber, and that's what
seals and all those things
and
that they eat.
that's what they eat. They don't get vegetables a large part of the year.
Not a large part, not up there in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah.
You know?
So you have these extremes, and then you have where we are now, where it's a huge clash of everything, and we're just all mutts. I mean, that's what I call myself. I'm just a mutt. And so you have the genetics. You might have the genetics for a high fat eater, and you might also have the genetics for a low fat eater. And so then that's, you know, where it comes in that you eat lots of vegetables. Just period, we eat lots of vegetables. And then if you have the ability and you want to, look at your genetics and start to at least get a feel for what it is that you need. And then eating with the seasons wherever you are. Not always the easiest thing to do. You know, the seasons here, I mean, we don't have a lot of things growing, but we have our winter squashes that last throughout the season. So it kind of would make sense that those are the types of things that we should be eating. We want warm, we want cozy, we want hot foods. Then we hit spring and we start getting a few, you know, we get the lettuces and the things that are able to take colder climates, and we can start eating on those. And then we have the other things that come up, and that's when, you know, the fruits and the more vegetables come up. And then you think about fruit, like these high sugar fruits that we don't grow here. They are intended to put fat on, to make us gain weight so we can get through the winter. So think about when you're...
think about that. That's great.
Fruit is great, right? But we eat way too much fruit because it's awesome stuff.
I love fruit.
It's good. But that's why I'm trying to be really specific when I say eat lots of vegetables. I'm not saying eat lots of plants, because grains are plants, fruits are plants. I'm not so convinced that grains are really our friend. I think beans can be our friend, and I'm still just sort of on the fence. I'm not a fad follower. I really want to understand the data as much as I can before I say this is what I think, and of course understand the person who I'm working with. But so eating a lot of fruit is probably not a great idea for most people, especially if you have blood sugar issues. There are going to be times when I just take people off fruit altogether.
Wow. Because their blood sugar levels are too high, or
if they are pre-diabetic, diabetic, and we're trying to control that, which can be controlled. Our society, or diseases of our society, are all lifestyle diseases. We have a few genetic conditions that can't be helped, but our cardiovascular disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's is considered type 3 diabetes. And so there's a lot that plays in there, though, right? So the genotype and the ability or inability to detox mercury, things like that. A lot goes into that, but a lot goes into all of it. And understanding who we are, understanding our genetics, and the understanding that these are all lifestyle conditions that we are accountable for. It's us. It's not our family.
It's not the food. It's probably a lot of it's us.
Well, and it's not our family. It's not I have cardiovascular disease in my family. I have no choice. So that's just how it's going to be, and it's going to be my end is a heart attack. Right, just not
the genetic destiny, right? We think that because somebody had gout, you know, like an uncle of mine who, you know, love him, has gout, and my brother, and we become this idea that that's our genetic destiny. That well, if he's got it, or we were this alcoholics or whatever it was, well, that means that I'm going to be one. And I never have felt that way. Can we alter our genetic destiny, even when it comes to things like diabetes and other inflammatory diseases and things that may have shown up in our family systems?
That's epigenetics. So you know the term epigenetics.
I love epigenetics.
It's amazing stuff. So if you don't know, so we have our genome, and it's, you know, our eye color, skin color, these things that typically don't change. Which though I'll go off. Never mind. Then we have our epigenome, and so epi meaning essentially on top, right? So there are these locations on genes that due to factors, had the ability to turn on, had the ability to turn on and off. And there are genes, our epigenome, depending on which one it is, there are millions. They're turning off minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, year by year, right? But there are the ones that we're researching now and this is a new science. It's just so
new
cool.
Science, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. But the ones that we're
Eye-opening.
seeing and the ones that I look at in practice are the ones that are, our pathways altered due to it's called a SNP, a single nucleotide polymorphism. Due to this SNP being turned on or off, is this pathway altered so we're not actually getting the vitamin D that we think we should be getting, or is the B12 not getting we need a different type of B12, right? I mean, there's so many different factors that go into this. But the basic understanding that lifestyle affects our genome, our epigenome, and I would say our genome. There are some who are saying that our genes, actually, not our epigenome, but our genes change too. And I think about this when I'm thinking about when we go through chemotherapy and our hair changes color or changes from straight to curly or the other way around, things like that. I mean, so that changes. And anyway, it's just fascinating. But we do have control.
And that's what's so nice is that we do have control about things. And it's, not only for our physical health and our body's health, but for our mental health as well. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions, all that thing can be influenced, so much of it, just by changing the way we feel and think and how we think and catching ourselves. We start to influence and change the genetic expression of those proteins that come out of that genome expression. And we can actually alter and change the biochemistry in our body. We can actually have a different body. Our bodies, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Nikki, but I think our bodies change every 7 years.
I think it's every 7 years.
We have a completely new body.
And some things have a quicker turnover, but we have entirely new body in 7 years.
It's crazy.
It's like
cool. So cool. And so what you're thinking and feeling and expressing and your words and how you eat and how your activity and all that stuff it plays such a huge part, because what are you going to be like 7 years from now? What are you feeding yourself internally and externally and all that stuff? Yeah.
And I think I really want to put an emphasis on that, because we have heard it our whole lives. We've heard that what you think is who you are, blah, 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 and it's like kind of goes in one ear, out the other. For one, stress shrinks our brain. What we tell ourselves can create stress, right? So if we're talking negatively, if we're in negative relationships, if we're surrounded by negativity, if we're a negative type of person, it will create more negativity, which will create more stress, which will create disease. It is a nasty cycle, or it can go the other way around. Having a positive outlook, being positive as much as you can, saying positive things, talking to yourself positively. I've been really bad about that. I'm like, you're so stupid. No, I'm really not. I may not do the smartest things, but I am very aware, and this has been a very long process for me. Well, very long, several years anyway, of working on this.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, this is stronger than anything else in our body, and we have to take care of this, and we have to feed it. We have to nurture it with words, with exercise, with the food, all of these things. Everything has to come back and nurture our brain, because if it doesn't, then nothing else is really going to work right.
Well, all the fuel. The fuels that you eat, the different, it fuels the brain. And it gives you. And if you're not feeding it, it will start to feed on itself. Your body, it won't start to feed on itself, and maybe you can feel like people who have been starving. I'm going off track here. Then the question I wanted to ask, but. People who have experienced starvation, prolonged, people in the concentration camps, or people that are experiencing it in Yemen and other places in the world right now, their body goes into survival mode, but it'll start feeding off of itself. But those pangs of starvation will start to go away after about 48 to 72 hours, and it goes into some kind of, I don't know what it is, ketosis, so it makes you feel high. So you're not feeling that, and it's the body. What's actually happening is the body's feeding on itself.
Yeah, it's dying and breaking down. Because that's obviously not where it's supposed to be. And the most important organs are the organs that are going to be taken care of first. So you're taking away from the muscles in order to feed the brain and feed the heart, and all of these really important organ systems that are going to keep us alive.
Well, I want to get really quick. I can't. This has been awesome.
I know.
I gotta have
Let's
you
go
back
another
on the
hour.
show. I would love to go another hour. This
Henry,
is
we're going another hour.
Henry, we are going. Sorry, this is too good. This is really too good. I really want to make sure. Will you come back? Will you come back on the show? This is great. I just want to make sure that talk a little bit about your company, Taste Life Nutrition. It's at www.tastelifenutrition.com. And you offer your clients strategic, evidence-based consulting to help them get over pain, fatigue, and reclaim their vitality and energy. And just could you share a little about what is functional nutrition and what is the process of your during the consultation? You have a complimentary consultation?
I do, yeah. And so functional nutrition is based in the science of functional medicine, which is looking for the root cause. And if I had it, I would bring it, or I should have brought it, but there's a great visual where it's a tree, and you have all of these things at the root of the tree. So stress, nutrition, exercise, mental and emotional health, all of these things, not mental and emotional health, but all of these things down that are the root. I don't know if there are 5 or 6 or 7 of them. I should probably know these by heart, but anyway, and so all of these things are what are going to affect the branches and the leaves. And so if something is wrong, then we have a branch that gets wilty or withery and doesn't grow leaves, whatever it is. So it's looking at the root cause, understanding what that is. It might be multiple root causes, and one root cause can create another root cause. But then working on those, instead of working way downstream at the leaves, we're working way upstream at the root cause to understand or to help the body to balance itself. So we balance these things, we get rid of the bacteria or the infection or whatever it might be, and the body can go up here then and take care of all of the other stuff. And I don't need to touch that because the body can touch it.
Well, the body's going to want to naturally go into homeostasis anyway, right? We're always looking towards getting into balance. And if we've gone too far out of balance, the body's going to do whatever it can to get back into balance, even make us sick sometimes, right? In order to get us back into, because it's like a wake-up call,
it's talking to you. That's the body talking to you. If you're sick, if you got all this stuff that I have right now, it's your body saying, you got a cold, you need to go rest.
That's usually a good, pretty clear, very simple, straightforward kind of a thing. Do stress, fatigue, and low libido, various inflammations of the body, all that, things that are important to it, does that have roots in unhealthy foods?
Absolutely. Yeah, unhealthy food creates a ton of stress. And then, of course, inflammation. And then, again, you have the cycle of all of these things that are connected. So, yeah, we have to eat good, healthy, balanced food. We have to have good, healthy, balanced exercise. We have to have good, healthy stress. Not too much stress, probably not too little stress. A little bit of stress is a motivator, right? But it can get out of control. Too much exercise, it can get out of control and be inflammatory. So I will say that I hate the term everything in moderation because it's very relative. A 6-pack of wine, or
6 bottles of wine.
6 bottles of wine.
Moderation for me. I got that Italian. I like that. All my Italian family, 6 bottles of wine. Moderation.
Done. I'm totally moderated. And so please don't say that, and don't come to me and say it. But balance is very important in understanding you and your body and finding somebody. It doesn't have to be me. They can help you find that balance and understand what's going on.
No, I just love I love how you're helping people to understand themselves and their own body and their own uniqueness. What is their makeup? What is going to give them? Because it's recognizing that not everything, every diet, every fad diet, everything is not going to be right for everybody. What's right for you? And your energy and your vitality and what's best for your health, because health is your greatest wealth.
You're different than everybody else. There's nobody like you, even under the same household. If you have a twin, you have a different experience and a different life and a different body.
Incredible. Absolutely
good
incredible.
Stuff.
This is really good stuff. I just want to do a quick shout out to Henry out here, who is our station manager and the head over at KUHS, The Stream. We are streaming out here all across Denver, all across the nation, and all across the world. Which is amazing.
I know, it's kind of weird.
How's
that possible?
I know. It's like, and it's such an honor to be your host for this show, and all the people that tune in from around the world. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your, be here every week with you or every other week with you. And, thank you so much. I also want to make sure before I sign out, I have a new book out there.
That's awesome.
So it's called Meditations with Masters of the Axial Age. It's a self-help book for the soul. You will meet 6 different masters from this very huge, epic period of human history called the Axial Age. And it's really about, again, helping you to tap into your spirituality, your soul, not allowing anybody else to have that control. You have command of that, and these teachers help you to start making those choices and those changes in your perspective to give you some clues about what moves your soul. So check it out.
Can you get it on Amazon?
You can get it on Amazon.
I'm going to Amazon as soon as the show's over. I want it.
Go on to get it on Amazon, paperback, ebook. You can also get it on storebookbaby.com. You can get it at Barnes & Noble and all over. So check it out.
Cool. I love it.
Nikki, before I close, I always ask my guests for the show, kind of way we close it out. If you could give one bit of advice, one bit of wisdom from your life experience, what would it be?
Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
That's great.
Because not everything's simple.
We make things way too complicated.
There are things that are more simple than we make them, and not everything is simple. But sometimes we just got to we just make things so much more than it has to be. So, especially food. Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple,
There's
stupid.
supposed to be a better S. Keep it simple, silly. I don't usually call people
simple,
stupid.
silly. Sillies, you sillies. Keep it simple. Oh, thank you, Nikki, so much.
Thank
for
you.
being
It was
this.
so much
It's
fun.
so much fun. Such a treat. And her information, you can find her at www.tastelifenutrition.com.
Yep.
And if you want to get a consultation, that's the best place to go, is to find you on
Yeah,
the website.
I actually have a free assessment online, and I'll reach out to you personally if it's something that you want to fill out, and we can chat about it, we can email about it. It just gives some, little bit of direction, and then if we want to move further beyond that, then so we do.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Will you come on again?
Yes.
Awesome.
Tomorrow.
All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to the Council. We'll be back again with you in 2 weeks with another great guest. Council is adjourned. May you all be well. May you all be free of pain and suffering. May you all be whole. God bless. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
I love it. That's amazing.